Having much more introduction of sir itself, I would tell sir to take the floors of yours. All sir, thank you so much. Really pleasure. Yeah, and I would request Ketan sir to present a small bouquet of memento to Rajesh Modi sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, all. So, yeah, there are changes which has happened. So, what I was told that initially before I start. So, have you covered, sir, non-corporate entities? What standards are there? What are the criteria? No, no. Okay. So, briefly, I would touch upon before actually we go into the subject specific, which has been allotted to me. And I am thankful to Ketan Bhai for giving me this opportunity. I always love to be part of the institute's activities, and this is the way we try to give back to our alma mater, to give back to our society, because we have earned so much out of this association. So we feel that this is our obligation, right? So again, thank you. And yes, I love coming here, and I think many over a period of last 10 years, if they are aware, I have been involved into so many activities at the institute level. So that apart, actually let us dwell into, so let me first understand how many of present here are actually having a listed entity as a client, or maybe involved somewhere into Indes arena. Okay, okay. Non-SMC clients. Fine, fine. And so majorly into non-corporate or a small and medium kind of clients, right? Fine, fine. Who are covered here under peer review? Anyone? Fine. So I think it is good. I congratulate all of you of having attended, means enrollment for this program, because this is how actually you can keep pace with what is happening around, and this is the best way to keep updated ourselves, right? Because here, like he has said, what NFRA is looking at, many FRRB observations we will find for, and they are coming up. I think recently they have come up with the latest publication. So I would request all of you, actually you should go through all these things and try to imbibe this. Maybe you may not have such kind of exposure, kind of clientele, but you can always try to adapt to the things, keep yourself updated and try to apply wherever it is possible, right? So that is the only way one can grow. And if you look at my example, I think at one point in time I also having very small clientele, right? Like you, majority of you. But then I always try to keep myself updated. And what was my benchmark is that if any of the best in the field has to look at my papers or my work papers or my conclusions or interpretations, it should be the same what he will conclude. I think that is how, that was the benchmark I always kept, and that has actually stood a time with me. So that is the only way. I would request you, please attend all such kind of programs. You go through all the publications which are available. I think Institute is doing fantastic job coming up with the best of the publications and available freely to us, right? So this is a huge thing. Even I think CAQ is doing the best things. Ready-made templates are available from CAQ if you are not aware. So please visit that website, Center of Audit Quality. Fantastic job they are doing. Ready-made, all publications are all templates, Excel format. You can actually start utilizing from day one. So this is how those are available, and all are free available, right? So please do it. Now let's, so first topic to me is disclosure account. So how I have planned is that AS 11, I think very crucial standard. So there I would try to dwell more. Then we have revenue recognition standards. So this again covers two parts. AS 7 also is likely covered under AS 9 kind of thing, revenue related. And then we have revenue recognition standard, and then most important, but given the least importance, actually that is AS 1. But this is what I would say is that the main standard, which actually one should actually cater to, right? And above all these standards, we have also framework. So actually, before you start reading the standard, I would request that you should go to the framework first, because that is where, that is the foundation. And once you are aware about those foundations, then I think you build up your practice. That will be better. So before that, I think this is what is that applicability under. So we have accounting standards for corporate, accounting standards for non-corporate. Yeah, thank you. Right. So if you look at corporate, we have listed entities. There we have Ind AS standards. For NBFC's Ind AS standard, and then for more than 250 crores net worth. And then we have non-corporate, means corporate entities with net worth of 250 crores or more. There also Ind AS is mandatory. Okay, so one is Ind AS regime. Then we have accounting standard regime. For corporates, again there is two kinds. One is SMC, non-SMC, right? So, and then we have non-corporates. And so there non-corporates, accounting standard rules under Companies Act will not apply. We have standards which are actually come up by institute, and there they have defined it under 4 levels, level 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are applicable to non-corporate entities. So this, if you look at, there are 4 kinds of regime, which one has to first identify where they fall, and accordingly then they have to go into that. So this is how it is. But going forward, already I think project started way back in 2013 to merge or converge accounting standard also with Ind AS, right? So going forward, I think this is going to happen. So in India at present we have so many kind of, then we have ICDS also under tax law. So how many standards we have to keep in mind and follow it, right? It is difficult. So it is better that if we have less number of different regimes, so that we are clear, okay, this is what the set of standards we will apply, and that should be fine. But at present, what happens that new generation, it is fine. Old generation ko kya hota, learning, relearning, again learning, so that becomes difficult. So hope this project gets completed soon, and we may have only maybe one kind of standard going forward. Yeah. So conditions, again, in 2021, actually, when they revised the limits for applicability of levels, they brought in line with means small and medium size companies or small and medium enterprises defined under that MSME law. So that's how these limits are now aligned. So across the board, under Companies Act also it is aligned, and here under for non-corporate also they have aligned for levels, right? So 2 conditions, turnover and borrowings in the previous year. So level 1 it is more than 250 crores and 50 crores of borrowing it is there. That is how, then all the standards will apply, no conditions. Level 2 we have between 50 and 250 and borrowing 10 to 50 crores, then you are under level 2. Then level 3 further relaxations, and then residual is the level 4 category. So there I think maximum relaxations and exemptions are available as far as the standards are covered. Same way under the Companies Act, we have non-SMC and SMC. So again for non-SMC it is 250 crore, 50 crore is the borrowings, and banks always applicable, right? and SMC between up to 250, at borrowing up to 50 crore, then your SMC, then you have few exemptions or relaxations available. So, but these are all optional. So, if you don't want, you can always say that I will follow everything. I have given this list where under which level which standards will not be applicable and where are the relaxations. So, this can help you. This is the listing. We have total 27 standards. Same way for companies, for non-SMC, we have only one standard which is not applicable, that is AS 17. And for other 5 standards, there are certain disclosure related or measurement related relaxations available. Yeah. So, this was the brief background. Now, coming to our subject proper, objective and scope of AS1. So, we all understand why AS1 is important. One thing it provides that when you select accounting policy, what should be the basis for that selection, right? So, there are certain fundamental assumptions which everybody is aware, and when anybody reads that financials, they know that okay, these are the fundamentals on which these assumptions are there, this financial has been prepared. So, standard says that whenever you are not following those fundamental assumptions, you have to disclose with the reasons why. Okay, otherwise it is presumed that reader knows that fundamental presumptions have been followed in preparing the financial statement or accounting policies. So, this is one thing which we need to keep in mind. So, focus is what? That because how the reader will know that if PP is showing certain amount, depreciation is showing certain amount, what is the basis of arriving those? What has gone into it? How it has been calculated? So, that is how management says this is what we have done. So, that communication with the reader of the treatment which has been given to a particular item in the financials, that is you convey through accounting policies, right? So, another thing is that okay, if I put a scattered manner my accounting policies somewhere anywhere it is lying, then also it is not going to help. So, again all accounting policies should be actually at one place. So, this is another thing, so that one will know okay, all standards which are applicable to the entity, these are the accounting policies they have given for recognition, measurement and all those things. So, this is how standard says that this is how you should do it. Yeah. So, these are the fundamental accounting, we are all aware, going concern. So, if you are not a going concern, I think in car also now the specific report is there everywhere. So, now one has to look into it, that whether you are going concern. We have separate SA 570 on going concern. So, now more stress is on this going concern. So, if it is not followed, it has to be separately mentioned, right? Consistency. So, you can't change accounting policy every year, right? So, there should be some reason for change. So, consistency is presumed. Accrual, that is the fundamental thing, right? So, accounting, if financials are not prepared on accrual basis, then it is something, unless it is permitted by law, it is not allowed. Nature of accounting policy in areas which they may differ. So, we all know, see previously we had seen there were many available alternatives given by the accounting standard itself, right? We said one treatment is benchmark treatment and other is alternatively available treatment. That was once upon a time. Now, because they wanted once everybody is more aware, right, they want to reduce these alternatives. So, everybody comes to one particular set of accounting policies, so that it becomes comparable and consistent. So, that is why nowadays if you see standard does not permit that alternative treatments. This is what the set of treatments you need to follow, and this is how you have to interpret the principles. right? So this is going to happen. But whenever something new comes, right, so people are not aware, practice is new, so that's why there sometimes that alternative treatments are provided. But as a principle, that is not a good idea. So nowadays you will don't get such kind of alternative treatments. So this is another thing which we need to understand. That's why that will give comparability, right? So where we find different kind of treatment, valuation of inventory, valuation or evaluation of PPE or valuation of PPE, investments, right? These are where we find how we account for goodwill. There also there can be some differences, treatments are available. So that's why it is important that management has to disclose as a way of accounting policy what they are following and how they have arrived at it. Having seen that fundamental presumptions, now what should be the consideration while selecting the accounting policy? So again we all know prudence, substance over form, and ultimately materiality, because preface of the standard itself says that it applies to material items. Okay? So many times we find that immaterial items, even though standard says, like one example is prepaid expenses. Okay, so accrual concept says that yes, prepaid expenses you must book, but many people will feel that up to this level, below 1 lakh, depending on the materiality level of that entity, they may say, okay, we will not create prepaid expenses, we may expense it out. So that is available, right, because it is not a material item. So this is how one has to benchmark. Substance over form, one of the example is sell and lease back, right? So it is not your revenue, it is a financing arrangement we have entered. So you can't show it as a revenue. Okay, so this is where, so even the legal form we will find that it is sell and lease back, but substance is that it is a financing arrangement we have entered. So accordingly that treatment has to be given. So we have to be very careful that upar kya dikhta hai and beyond that what is there. So actual what is the fundamental transaction at transaction level, how the both parties have actually decided. That is how it should get reflected in your accounts and not only the legal form. FRRB. See here in this case what they have done, benefits like import license premiums, sales tax set off, cash incentive are accounted for on cash basis. I think clearly it is not in compliance with IGAAP, right? So that is where FRB said this is not allowed, one should be careful. So one of the company has shown services has been shown as a gross from which reimbursed energy charges have been deducted to arrive at net revenue. And this amount was very substantial, what they have actually deducted. So nothing was mentioned about that, what is the nature of that item, why it is deducted. So that should be part of your accounting policy actually. So here nothing was given, so how the reader will know why it has been happened, right? So these are the observations which we need to keep in mind. Another important, MAT credit entitlement, right? So yeah, you may be eligible for credit in the future whenever there is a taxable income, right? But what is the probability of getting into that? Whether you will be able to set off within that timelines or not. So that also proper working basis and the disclosure is a part of accounting policy on what basis they have said yes, I will be able to get the set off of it, and that's why I am eligible to create this as a asset. So those things has to be properly disclosed, but here in this case it was found that nothing was mentioned about MAT credit. So I think this we have covered. Last one is in disclosure of accounting policies or a changes therein cannot remedy a wrong or inappropriate treatment of the items of in the accounts. Very important, right? गलती छुपाने के लिए कुछ आप अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी में चेंज कर दो, उसकी वजह से वो दैट इज नॉट द करेक्ट थिंग. यू कैन डू अनडू व्हाट इज रॉन्ग. सो वन हैज टू बी वेरी केयरफुल. कैमोफ्लेज नहीं होना चाहिए, राइट? So this was, as I said, our main focus will be more on AS11 and revenue recognition. So this is a fundamental standard AS1, which actually one has to be very careful that what disclosures they are doing, right? So in my office, what we do, that we go through all the standards which are applicable to the company, and then see policies relating to all those standards have been covered or not. And second thing, copy paste नहीं करना है कि किसी और से उठा लिया और डाल दिया. It has to be aligned with the transactions with the your entity is doing, right? So it should be aligned, like revenue recognition. खाली कभी-कभी क्या they put just one liner that accrual basis पे करते हैं, और that is not sufficient. We have to be very specific and aligned to the entity to whom you are reporting, right? So disclose those facts so that one will know, okay, for this entity, how recognition of revenue has been done, right? So be elaborate about it. Construction contracts. If anybody is like few of them who has actually said that yes, Ind AS they have done, right? So under Ind AS, there were previously two revenue standards. One was for construction, then there was a revenue record, like it was there for AS. Then they come up with one single standard which will cater to all the revenue related matter. That is now 115, right? So fundamentally, if you look at Ind AS, there actually detailed elaboration has been done for specific kind of industry, specific kind of situations. Guidance is available. Still, it is a principle based standard. Okay, but guidance is available in detailed manner. How you should do, how you will assess whether at what point in time revenue has to be recognized, whether your obligations are fulfilled, not fulfilled, actually control has been transferred or not. I think so. I would request, even if you are not into Ind AS, please read 115. It will help you so much in better understanding how you should evaluate revenue recognition whenever you come across any of your entities. That will help you, right? Because fundamental principles, they have so clarity they have given there. This is the beauty of Ind AS in a way. Okay, but if you see under AS9, many times you will find, so that's why best example is what? Take that cutoff year when many of the entities, so you can pick up few industries like pharma, real estate, okay, tools, EOM kind of manufacturers, pick up those balance sheets, listed entities I am saying. Jab first year jab they transited to Ind AS, what were the impact areas? इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि under previous regime, these were not accounted in the way it should have been accounted, right? Principally. So this is the best way you will realize that how different it is. But fundamentally, if you read Ind AS, then you will find, okay, this should be the only way, right? So that's why when I will take up AS9, I will only give this 2-3 industry example why it has impacted, and under AS9, still how we are doing accounting vis-a-vis how we should have been doing it under Ind AS. Okay, so there is a gap, and hopefully, as I said, it will get converged in future. But we should be aware. Okay, so that I will be touching upon. So first, AS7 construction contracts. So fundamentally, it should be more than 1 year period. That's why this accounting comes. Second thing applies to the contractors, and indirectly it also applies to the developer. But there was specific guidance not available under our ICAI, how to account by the developer who is actually doing this construction activity as a part of his business. So, but principally both are same, right? So we have to see that applies to enterprise undertaking construction activities as contractors, but can also be applied by those who undertake as venture of a commercial nature, that is developer, where the enterprise has entered into agreements for sale. Now construction contract can be what? It can be bridge, it can be buildings, it can be manufacturing plant. So these are all comes under, and you give contract to some contractor, okay, please build this for me. So that is how this comes, and we know that it will be beyond 1 year, 2 years, 3 years it will take to complete. That's where this standard comes into play. And we also know that construction contract can be of two types. One can be fixed price contract, right, which can be a cost plus contract. So depending on the type of contract you have entered, your accounting treatment will also change accordingly. So now, because we will see that under construction contract we have to account for on estimate basis, right? Future में simple example real estate, right? POCM we take. 3 साल बाद market can change totally, right? But as far as the accounting standard says, you have to recognize revenue over a period of your contract. So as far as fixed price contract or cost plus contract, there is some reliable estimate. Okay, yes, I am going to earn this. But think from the angle of real estate builder. On his own basis, he is doing this activity. So much uncertainty, right? And in India, we don't have that concept of ki aaj tax bhar diya. If it is the same contract, so at the end of when the contract gets over, I can go back and adjust my losses with the taxes paid. That is not permitted in India. In some of the foreign countries, it is permitted. So actually, at least that should be available, right? Otherwise, starting में मैंने गलती से ज़्यादा बता दिया, and then market suddenly changed, and at the time of when the actual contract culminates, I have losses in the project. But what tax already I have paid, that is gone, not adjustable. So this is one lacuna, right? But principally, as far as outsourcing of contract is there such kind of uncertainty is reduced, right? Because you are outsourcing, contractor is there, उसके साथ आपने contract किया है, fixed price contract है या फिर whatever cost plus contract. So certainty is more there. So what are the conditions, right? Total contract revenue can be measurable, reliability possible because you have entered into a contract. It is probable that the economic benefits associated with the contract will flow to the enterprise. That is also milestones will be there, right? So you can do that. Both the contract cost to complete the contract and the stage of completion, year on year, should be determinable, right? Generally, in all such kind of companies, they have separate MIS kind of thing, right? So they capture all these cost centers. So any point in time, they are aware how much cost has been incurred in this project, what is the stage of completion. So that monitoring is required, and that is same is getting reflected in your financial statements, right? The contract cost attributable to the contract can be clearly identified and measured reliably. Again, identification, as I said, cost centers are there, project wise. Cost plus में इतना सब झंझट करने की जरूरत नहीं है, right? It is probable that economic benefits associated with the contract will flow, and contract cost attributable to the contract, whether specifically reimbursable, can be clearly identified and measured. Because here you are every year charging on the basis of actual cost we have, what we have actually incurred. So what are the contract revenues? What can be included? Initial amount of revenue agreed, variations in contract work, claims and incentive payments, right? because आगे चल के delays may happen, maybe because of them, right? They were supposed to give all those clearances, उनका late आया, so we have already allocated resources, सब तैयार है, so because of that delay happened, so my cost went up. So there can be such escalation clauses, या material prices बहुत shoot up हो गया, because here iron, steel, all those things are there involved, cement is involved, right? So there certain times they put such kind of clauses that if variation is more than above certain percentage, escalation will be there. So this we call it as a variable kind of consideration. Maybe design change किया बाद में, right? So accordingly then I had to change everything in between. So those things are covered under those variable kind of thing. And यहाँ पे क्या होता है, once it is agreed and you have assurance कि yes, it is going to happen and customer is going to pay you, right? Once that stage you reach, that is when you will actually include that as a part of your estimation for revenue. Till that time you will not, because there is always a uncertainty. So you should have got that comfort from that customer, yes, he is agreeing and he is going to pay, right? Cost that relate directly to the specific contract, costs that are attributable to contract activity in general and can be allocated, right? So indirect kind of cost. And such other costs that are specifically agreed, okay, this will be separately charged for you, I am doing for you only. So those can be part of your cost. Recognition. So once we have identified what will fall into my revenue as per the agreement, what are my costs which I am going to allocate to this particular project, then we have to see when I will start recognizing the revenue. To be recognized when the outcome can be estimated reliably, contract revenue and contract costs associated should be recognized as revenue and expenses by reference to stage of completion. So that's where POCM comes, right? However, an expected loss on the construction contract should be recognized as expense immediately. So indirectly what we call this? Onerous kind of thing. At the initial stage only, immediately before you actually start or during the progression of the project, you come to know that this is going to make a loss only. Project itself is a loss, whole contract. Then that actual loss which you estimate it is going to happen on this project, immediately you have to book now. You should not wait for the last moment. This is what they are saying. So onerous contract kind of thing. Okay. So when estimation of outcome is uncertain, you are not able to estimate reliability, then revenue should be recognized only to the extent of contract cost incurred, of which recovery is possible, probable, and contract cost should be recognized as an expense in the period in which they are incurred. So this happens generally when initial stages, when you are not at reach that certain stage. Like in guidance note, it is given that up to 25% आपका अगर contract cost नहीं हुआ incur, that time, till that time you will not recognize revenue itself, right? That thumb rule guidance is given, but standard is silent about it. But we can always say that ऐसा progress होना चाहिए कि reliability should be there, correct? Stage of completion, simple example, total contract cost, revenue is 50, cost is 50 lakhs, that is what we have estimated, and up to March 24, actual incurred is 20 lakhs, so you can see 20 divided by 50, so it is 40%. So this is the stage of completion. This is, most of us use this method, actual cost incurred upon the estimated total cost, right? But other method, survey method is allowed, actual physical activity wise कितना काम हुआ है, that is also permitted. But as far as accounting is concerned, this is what generally as a benchmark we use. Yeah, this is that onerous contract I had covered. Disclosure, the amount of contract revenue recognized as revenue in the period, the method used to determine the contract revenue recognized in the period, and the method used to determine the stage of completion. So as I said, actual cost incurred upon the estimated cost. So this is what you have to disclose as a part of accounting policy. Presentation, the gross amount due from customer for contract, we have to show it as a asset. Generally it is, we call it as unbilled revenue kind of situation. And the gross amount due to customer for contract work as a liability. So you have billed more actually. But as per your POCM, income should have been less. So that becomes your liability, right? So you will postpone. Disclosure, amount of advances received, the aggregate amount of cost incurred and recognized profits, and the amount of retentions. So these were the few, I think, ESE opinions. Items dispatched to the project site but not used or applied for performance of contract activity. Do we recognize revenue on this or not? Means, do we include that it is already incurred, so that in overall proportion I should include it and recognize revenue or not? ESE said clearly no. You have to take it as WIP or stock in trade, right? As a stock lying at site, unless it has been actually consumed. Okay? Otherwise क्या होगा, इसको आप अर्ली ले लोगे, प्रीपोन कर दोगे आपका रेवेन्यू. Provision for warranty under construction contract. So this is generally because see, one is retention, right? वो बोलेगा कि yes, you have done this job up to 1 more year, this much amount we will retain, so that कुछ हुआ तो you are liable. You have to actually do good, otherwise we will not release this amount, right? So that is one assurance which they are taking from the contractor. However, as far as the contractor is concerned, we also know that there is a provision for warranty which is required, right? Because you know, estimate that this much cost may come up because of certain repair work which may I have to do. So those warranty cost has to be actually, if you are including as a part of your cost, right, then it should also be included as a part of your that estimate of the contract cost and the proportionate revenue recognition, stage of completion. So this is what ESE has opined. Now here, I think in this case, there was a public sector. They were actually treating directly related cost for the purpose of contract accounting. And payroll cost, they were treating it as if it is a fixed cost. So they were ignoring, right? But maybe out of that payroll there will be many engineers, right? Any site supervisors, actually you are working on a particular project. But they had said no, variable we will take, fixed payroll ignore. So then they had gone to ESE to seek their opinion, and ESE was very clear. Payroll cost for project related employees should be included in the contract cost and allocated systematically based on time spent on contracts. Payroll cost for administrative employees should be charged directly to the profit and loss. So because that is general administrative kind of expense. Another FRRB observation, revenue recognition based on the progress of construction, means work done or cost incurred, that is fine. Price escalation claims recognized when realized or mutually settled, means accrued price increase. Additional claim, including arbitration, recognized when reasonably ascertained. All fine, right? Observation, A7 requires disclosure of amount of contract revenue recognized during the period and method to determine stage of completion. Company did not disclose the method used to assess contract progress. So this was the observation. So as far as this is AS7, any doubts? Revenue. So I think before I go into revenue, I would like to take up that example which I said. Okay, what happened when Ind AS came and what were the impact areas in these specific 3 industries. So real estate, anybody can share what has happened, because that was the biggest hit happened to the real estate sector. Anybody would like to share? So क्या हुआ रहेगा? And I am talking from revenue recognition only. What higher, sir? Yes. So previously we had this AS7. So everybody was doing POCM. Correct? Ind AS said आपका performance तो obligation complete ही नहीं हुआ है. So you can't do it on POCM. You are not fulfilling the criteria to account it at POCM. So you have to only do it at the point of sale. That is when actually the possession happens. So what happened? Sub-listed entity, badi. Suddenly everything is in P&L or in WIP, CWIP, WIP, correct? Revenue 0. क्योंकि डिलीवरी एवरीथिंग वॉज अंडर प्रोग्रेस, राइट? कंस्ट्रक्शन पोजेशन तो बहुत कम होता है, राइट? धीरे धीरे होता है ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. सो वॉट एवर रेवेन्यू दे हैड रिकॉग्नाइज्ड, everything they had to reverse, and now they are following delivery based. So उनको I think 3-4 साल लगा to come up to this level. Otherwise first 3 years if you see red suddenly. Okay, so this is the biggest impact in real estate, beauty of 115. Then another example, as I said, pharma industry. There what happens? R&D happens, right? So mostly there are certain companies who actually does this R&D. So उनके लिए income आता है, correct? So big companies who actually are into marketing, right? Big brands. So they tie up with such people, manufacturers who actually does R&D, molecule develop करेंगे. They get the permissions, clearances from FDA or whatever, correct? And then once it is ready to market, they will manufacture for that big brand, and then big brand will actually market those products in their countries. This is how that agreement happens. Okay, so इसमें क्या होता है कि पहले जब they enter into this agreement for development and getting the permissions, clearances, huge amounts are paid, right? And the period is maybe 3 years, 2 years, 5 years possible. And then actually clearance will come, and then that manufacturing will happen, and then actually marketing will happen. So what this under AS what they used to do, ये जो starting का जो agreement बना था ना, तो उसका as per the milestone they used to take income. They book the revenue. Ind AS जैसे ही आया, उन्होंने बोला boss, your performance is attached to the ultimate contract, which is maybe for 5 years or 10 years. You can't segregate these two because this is linked, these two are linked. So then what happened suddenly, ये जो भी income उन्होंने लिया था उसको reverse करना पड़ा, right? And once that clearances happened, from that and the manufacturing started, they had to amortize over a period of those future sales. Huge impact again. Third was this OEM, right? Original manufacturer, equipment manufacturer, जो I think vehicles और वो सब में, automobiles में होता है. So there first they have to create that dies, tools we call, right? Huge investment. And then they say, okay, मेरे लिए die को use करो, and then engine के लिए जो समझो aluminum का लगेगा mold, that you will produce for me, and that quantity runs into lakhs and lakhs. So under AS what used to do, दोनों agreement अलग कर देते, die बनाने का एक अलग, and then manufacturing of the product using that die was separate agreement. So they were linked. So in AS में क्या होता था, जो जैसे ही मैंने वो tools का agreement बनाया, उसका मैंने जैसे ही tools खत्म हुआ, ready हो गया, मैंने income book कर लिया, and then manufacturing जब चालू किया, उसको मैंने अलग से लिया और उसका मैं as a sell of the product I used to account for. Ind AS बोला boss, these two are linked, you can't do this. So tools का जो सामने पैसा आया, it was like deferred income. Tools I capitalized, and once the manufacturing started of the product using that tool, from that day onwards, I amortized that fixed asset by way of depreciation, and same way whatever income I had earned for that tools part, that also started to take it to my P&L account, income. So दोनों साथ में over a period of the contract of that, suppose I have, okay, by using these tools 5 lakh I have to manufacture, ठीक है. So based on that quantity manufactured, I amortize over a period of time. So this is the another big impact which happened between AS and Ind AS. So that's why under Ind AS regime, what they have done is merged all the standards relating to revenue recognition. And they said this is the universal principle, 5-step model they have. I am not into that because we are today on AS, but they have come up with the 5-step models. If you fulfill all this, then your revenue starts, and then you have to decide based on this 5 steps whether it is point in time or over a period of time. And accordingly, even your measurement changes, transaction price changes, revenue कितना लेना है, agreement में कुछ अलग लिखा रहेगा, actual revenue will be different because so many things one need to check. So this is what 115, that's why I am saying please go through, read it, fantastic standard. Okay? So I thought let me highlight कि कहाँ पे impact आ सकता है. Okay? And these are all from my client example I am giving, all these industries, and we have seen huge impact. So here it is very simple because see here ज़्यादा आपको guidance नहीं दिया, it is very compact standard AS9, right? Sale of goods, rendering of service, and use of others by enterprise resources. So these are the 3 things covered by this standard. And resources used will be interest, royalties, dividends. Sale of goods, if you fulfill 3 conditions. First is transfer. The seller transfers ownership to the buyer for consideration, or when significant risk and rewards of ownership are transferred and seller retains no effective control to a degree usually associated with ownership. ठीक है? Second, no significant uncertainty exists regarding the amount of consideration, so you know how much consideration you are going to get, and it is not unreasonable to expect that you will actually receive also or realize those consideration agreed. So if you are okay with these 3 conditions, that is the time actually you will start recognizing that sale. Okay? Any again practical examples, practical issues where we come across कि अरे sale तो ले लिया लेकिन actually problem. So generally we look at it at cut-off time, right? Whether it should be considered sale or it should be taken as a part of inventory, sale should be reversed, that is where it happens. So one has to look at from this angle, and again that terms with the customer, that is most crucial. We ignore many times that. But terms क्या है? Risk किसका है? Right? Whether that risk has been transferred or not transferred. Many times what happens? Stock मेरे पास ही पड़ा है. Right? He said, okay boss, I want to get it from this particular transporter only, and this is not available for 2-3 days. He is not there, so you please keep store at your place. Then he will come and pick it up. But that is his request, right? I am to saying मेरा तो ready है लेके जाओ. So then based on that, if the terms are such that okay, now I am the custodian of that product, I can't touch that product. It is for you, ready to dispatch. Then I can book the revenue even if delivery is not done. Correct? So based on the terms, you have to see if CIF is there, customer के godown में पहुँचेगा, that is the time when you can say as per the terms, sale is happened, then you can't book once it reaches, it leaves your factory. So again, export, again what are the terms? Import, again, so we have to look at what is the terms with the, and most important is transfer of control, that is under Ind AS. Ind AS everywhere you will find control, control, control. Here basically more stress is on risk and reward. ठीक है, तो कब मेरा risk transfer हो गया? The moment you can say now risk is transferred, that is the time you can recognize the revenue. ठीक है, because now everything is on him. So be careful, look into the terms. Okay? And many companies I have seen, they are following every day तो because dispatch हो गया तो ले लेते हैं, but suppose terms are such that it is to be delivered to the customer, then based on the past experience, they say it takes subject 2 days to reach the customer. So what they are doing as a policy, they reverse last 2 days ka sales. Because for each it will be difficult, right? So they have formed that policy itself. So we have, actually it is happening. Okay? So we have to see what are the terms. Rendering, proportionate completion and completed service contract method. No significant uncertainty, and again you should be able to realize the expense. As far as the use of the resources, interest we all know, it is periodic, correct? So amount involved, time proportion and the rate. Royalties as per the contract on accrual basis, dividend when it is declared. However, when interest, royalty and dividends from foreign countries are to be earned, then and where that particular country requires exchange permission and there is uncertainty in remittance, revenue recognition has to be postponed. Effect of uncertainties, right? Because we have seen 3 conditions has to be fulfilled. So nahi ho raha hai to kya karne ka? Then you have to go through this slide. At the time of sale or rendering of service or use of resources, first determine unreasonable to expect the ultimate collection. If answer is yes, postpone the revenue. Significant uncertainty regarding the amount of consideration, you can't book the revenue, postpone it. Okay? And once it is recognized, when you resolve this uncertainty, consider as revenue of the period in which it is properly recognized. So ऐसा नहीं होगा prior period नहीं है. It is not a prior period because you have not crystallized that when that uncertainty went. So in the period in which these things get resolved, that revenue will be considered for that particular period. And suppose at the time of revenue recognition, all the conditions was fulfilled, but later on something happened with the party, bankrupt हो गया, right? So collectability का problem बाद में आया. So what we generally do, we don't reverse the revenue, right? We create provision for doubtful debts, right? So this is what it is saying. Create a separate provision, allowance for doubtful, and not reverse the revenue. Disclosure, in addition to the disclosure required by accounting standard, 1, an enterprise would also disclose the circumstances in which revenue has been postponed pending the resolution of significant uncertainties. That is very crucial because reader should know कि कितना revenue जो हो सकता था, you could not because of uncertainties, right? But generally I think we don't find such thing. ESE. Company is a public sector in Ministry of Defense, infrastructure mining with exports to 42 countries. Revenue is recorded when the goods are handed to transporters based on a valid sales contract. Auditors questioned if ownership was transferred when goods were still with the company due to transport delays. So whether can it be said that it is transferred. The query stage sought the ESE opinion whether sales booking is correct when delivery is delayed at the buyer's request, whether booking sales based on goods consignment note from the transporter aligns with AS9 timing of recognition. committee gave its view, and what was the opinion? Delivered at buyer's request. Sales can be booked if the buyer takes title, accepts billing, and the goods are identified, ready for delivery with no further conditions. As I said, no, it should be ready, allocated separately, and it is at the buyer's request. It is delayed, right? So then you can book the revenue. That is also EAC also has confirmed. There must also be an expectation that delivery will happen, considering other relevant facts like risk bearing. So again that same thing. I am custodian. So कल उठ के मेरे गोडाउन में उसके माल को चोरी हुआ या whatever fire हो गया, then liabilities is not mine. This is a risk condition. Sale based on goods consignment notes. Sales cannot be booked solely based on goods consignment note without actual delivery unless the risk and rewards of ownership. Again coming back to what are the actual terms. So in one of our client who are into textile, okay, so within the Mumbai territory, if they have to supply to the customers, they use their own transport, Trempo, and they dispatch it. So there it is like once it reaches, it leaves my factory, that risk is transferred. For outstation customers, their transporters are at Bhiwandi, suppose. Okay, so the terms are such that from my factory till the transporters go down, it is my responsibility. And once I hand it over to the customer's transporter at Bhiwandi go down, my risk is done. So for that customers, we postpone the revenue booking till the time goods are delivered to the customer, that transporter of the customer. So वहाँ पे again एक दो दिन का फर्क होता है, because suppose my factory is at Khopoli or near Pune, and I have to deliver it to Bhiwandi. Normally it takes 1 or 2 days, right? So that postponement happens of the revenue. So this is how practically we have to look at the terms, right? So now in this case, there were sale of tickets, and the company used to record revenue based on the tickets sold. Okay, and the company was also having into advertisement revenue. That was recognized when advertisement and net realization are confirmed. So in the time of entering into contract of advertisement, they were actually booking the revenue. Plus ticket बेच दिया, ले लो revenue. I think both were wrong, right? Event का जिम्मेदारी कौन लेगा? Correct. पहले event होने दो. So till the time you can't take it as a revenue. Once that event gets over, you can book it as revenue. This is what the FRRB observation also is. So it is not aligned. So here the company, in another case, company recognized the entire cost of garments destroyed by fire under other operating income, stock loss claim, based on the filed insurance claim. Important is filed. For partially damaged stocks, the inventory is valued at NRV determined by insurance claim again. The insurance claim for loss of PPE has been recognized based on again filed insurance claim. The company states that income recognition is in accordance with AS 9. So first thing, whether such kind of claims are covered under revenue recognition standard or not. Right? The first thing is that you can apply the principle of recognition, but prima facie this is not covered. That's why we take it as other income, right? So AS 9 states that revenue recognition should be postponed if there is uncertainty about the ultimate collection of a claim, such as for price escalation, export incentive or interest, until it is reasonably certain. However, insurance claims do not fall within the definition of revenue as per AS 9. But recognition of such claims requires that the amount should be measurable, first thing, and that collection is reasonably expected. So whether by just filing the claim you can get this assurance कि कितना वो देगा first thing और देगा कि नहीं, correct? So these two conditions are not fulfilled only at the time you file the claim. So how can you recognize revenue? I think that was the FRRB observation. Recognize insurance claim at the time of filing without considering uncertainty in measurability and collectability is not appropriate. Revenue should be postponed until the claims are accepted or sanctioned by the insurance company, and which is again supported by EAC, and that is what we have been doing also, right? So recognize revenue either at the time of filing or upon actual receipt is not in. So actual receipt तक भी राह नहीं देखना है, and only at the time of filing also राह नहीं देखना. Means you can't do it. When it is sanctioned by the insurance or they have accepted your claim, that is the time actually you should book the revenue. Now certain examples of situation. Delivery delay, I think we have seen that buyer's request होगा. You have to see that expectation that delivery be made. It must be on hand, identified and ready for delivery, correct? And we call it also a bill and hold sales. Installation and inspection, right? Recognize revenue when delivery and installation are complete unless the process is very simple like plug and play, correct? On approval basis, right? You have sold on approval basis. Recognize revenue when goods are accepted or buyer does an act adopting the transaction. So buyer is approving, yes, I approve this. That is the time you can book the revenue. Guaranteed sales, unlimited right to return. Many times we see such kind of coming across such kind of advertisements, right? कि 30 दिन के बाद आप रिटर्न कर दो, full amount will be refunded, something like that. Revenue recognition depends on the substance of agreement. We have to see whether it is a consignment sale, or if not, recognize sale but make a provision for expected sales return based on the past practice. Okay? So don't wait till 30 days is over or 60 days is over, whatever. Based on your past practice, you can estimate how much generally sales gets approved and how much gets returned. So based on that estimate, you can actually create that provision. Consignment sale, as we know, he is my agent. So if I sell him, that is not my sale actually, unless he actually sells to the third party, outside party. So that is the time I can book the revenue. Cash on delivery, when the cash is received. Sale and purchase, repurchase agreement, I have seen it is a financing kind of agreement, it is not a sale. Installment payments, we deliver at the time of final payment. Recognize revenue when goods are actually delivered. Special order or shipment of goods presently not lying in your stock, directly to the customer by the third, means you have actually given order to some third party कि भाई उधर बेच देना, ठीक है? It is not lying with you. So when to book? Recognize revenue when goods are manufactured, identified and ready for delivery, either by you or by the third party. Trade discounts and volume rebates. It cannot be my revenue. It has to be deducted from my cost. Subscription for publications on straight line basis, or if different items are given and values are differing, then based on the relative value of those items. Installment, as I have said, revenue to exclude interest element, interest to be recognized proportionately, because installment sale means मैं उसको कुछ अलग charge करता हूँ interest. Service commission, financial service, if it is one time, then at the time you have delivered that service. Okay. Admission fee for special events when the event takes place. For subscription to number of events, allocate fee to each event on a systematic and rational basis. You can't book on day one. Installation fee, not incidental to sale of goods when equipment is installed and accepted. This we have seen. Advertisement, when the ad appears before the public, that is the time you will record that commission. insurance on effective commencement or renewal of policies. That is when you can account for the commission. Entrance and membership fees depends on nature of service. Entrance fees generally it is capitalized. Membership fee when received, if it entitles member to other services, then recognize on a systematic and rational basis. Because या फिर आप बोलोगे ना membership is separate, बाकी सब service के लिए I will charge you, then it's a different thing. Tuition fees or a period of instructions. Okay, so this was AS9. I tried to explain how it differs from Ind AS and why we should move towards Ind AS. Last, sir, how much time? 2:10. Okay. So this is most important standard, and based on my 3 decades experience, and when I always converse with fellow participants, or even when I talk to my office staff or wherever, so much confusion about the principles. So I feel, why this? So that's why I have tried to touch upon those areas where I have come across that people are not clear. There are interpretation issues, right? And these are all interpretation issues. But because of that, your conclusions will drastically change. ऊपर नीचे हो जाएगा पूरा, right? So that's why I would suggest and request कि एक तो clarity of thought should be there when you read the standard and when you actually try to implement the standard. अभी तो क्या है कि बहुत सारा guidance is available, right? बाकी पहले तो खाली क्या था, वही standard था जो 10-15 पेज पढ़ो, interpret करो, and that was also very concise, principle, high principle based, not even principle based. उसमें आपको जो समझ में आए समझो, तो he will interpret differently, I will interpret differently, he will differently interpret, और तीनों का client का आंसर अलग और advice भी different. This is happening. अभी थोड़ा कम हो गया है because of Ind AS coming, otherwise huge gap, and we will see where it is. And I would request, if I am wrong, you please say कि no, whatever I am saying is wrong, हम तो ये सब बराबर ही करते हैं, right? I will be happy, because that's where that awareness is required. So generally, where we use this standard? Accounting for transactions in foreign currencies. Now foreign currency का transaction कब होता है? इधर आप खुद import export कर रहे हो, या आपके पास foreign funding है, right? In foreign currency, that's where you are dealing with foreign currency, or you have set up your own office, branch, you have subsidiary outside India. So that is where you will come across such situation where you will need to deal with foreign currency accounting. Okay? Another area is forward contract. Import export है, मुझे hedge करना है, so then I will enter into forward contract with banks. ठीक है? That's where again you have to deal with how to account for this. So again there also many issues, people are not aware. If you look at the purpose, then you will get the correct answer. But कभी कभी क्या हम purpose को ही side पे रख देते हैं and we focus on nitty gritty. Right? Fundamental, agar if you understand why, then you will always come up with the right kind of answer. That's what we will try to achieve, right? So accounting for transaction in foreign currency, we have to see how it will impact my profit and loss, how it will impact my balance sheet items, right? And suppose I have long-term foreign currency monetary loan, then what certain alternatives the institute had provided me, which I could use, and why it was brought in, and whether it should continue or it should not. Right? उसका एक purpose था, एक period था, वो कब का गया. Right? So now it should be like sunset. And then if you have foreign operations, then how to translate for the purpose of consolidation at the year end or whatever period you want to consolidate as a group, foreign operations ko how you will translate to your reporting currency and consolidate those things. So these are the two aspects of this standard, and within that foreign operations you have to identify whether it is my integral foreign operation or non-integral, right? And there is one more item, that is monetary item, which in substance is net investment in foreign operations. So this generally applies to non-integral kind of situation. So that we will also see how you will account for that. And the last thing, restatement of financial statement from your reporting currency to another currency, whether S11 applies or it provides any guidance, or it will say haath upar, don't come to me, go somewhere else. Right? So you understand what I am saying? Reporting currency is suppose INR, because as per standard the country in which you are domiciled, that becomes your reporting currency. So if I want to present my financial statement in US dollar, standard says I will not help. Okay? Ind AS says I will help. IFRS says I will help. That's the gap. Plus fundamental gap, वहाँ पे functional currency है, यहाँ पे only one currency, that is reporting currency, and other is foreign currency. वहाँ पे three currency, functional currency, reporting currency, or I would say presentation currency, they use the word, and third is foreign currency. ठीक है? So again, principally, if you look at it, guidance should be available, because I have many investors who want that my balance sheet should be in the, why not in other than INR. So what I should do? Correct? Standard does not help. We will see it. Foreign operation, as I said, can be subsidiary, associate, joint venture, or branch of the reporting entity who is domiciled in India. Right? The activities of which are based or conducted in a country or currency other than those of the reporting entity. Now how to identify integral, non-integral? These are the criteria you need to look at, and then decide based on answer to this criteria whether you fulfill criteria for integral foreign operation or non-integral foreign operation. Non-integral का मतलब क्या है? It is not integrated with me, means autonomous. Everything they are managing on their own. They have their own teams, they have right to purchase, sell, determine who are my customers, credit period, they are self-reliant, they keep their earnings there, profit reserves also kept there, right? So transactions with parent is not that much of the total transactions. So then we say that okay, independently वो काम कर रहा है. I am not dependent on them, they are not dependent on me. Apart from my control, and because of that maybe overall some framework or guidance will be there, but otherwise independently they are autonomously functioning. उनको borrowing करना है तो they can borrow, they only service those loans and interest everything. So sub they are managing. So then I will say it is non-integral. And most important, I am not dependent on day-to-day basis on the cash flow which I get from them. Then it is non-integral. ठीक है? तो उसके रूल्स डिफरेंट है. कहाँ पे आएगा ये? When you translate the foreign operations for the purpose of consolidation. There the principles will, treatment will differ. Correct? That's why identifying whether it is integral or not, that is important. ठीक है? So जो भी अभी हमने बोला कि नॉन इंटीग्रल के लिए उसका एग्जैक्टली ऑपोजिट इज इंटीग्रल. कि मोस्टली they don't have any powers, they have to purchase from me only, right? I can direct कितने में बेचने का है, किसको बेचने का है. So as if it is extension on my own arm, that is what it is said. So then it is integral for an operation. My cash flows are dependent because whatever they sell, it is my product only. So I will need the money, right, to manage my cash flows. So I am dependent on those cash flows. So everything integral. Okay. So once we have identified, then we will apply those principles when actually we do consolidation. Irrespective of where you fall. Now you are not into translation. Now come back to your reporting entity. Usme there is some foreign currency transaction which has happened. So one stage is initial recognition. When that purchase happens, export happens, you buy PP import, correct? Or you borrow funds in ECB loan. So at the time of entering into that transaction, that we call it as an initial measurement and recognition place. How you do it? We all know it is transaction date, exchange rate we have to apply, correct? So at that time there won't be any exchange difference. Average is allowed for convenience purpose, maybe weekly, 15 din, whatever. Irrespective of that transaction is of monetary asset or liability, or whether it is non-monetary asset or liability. ये कब आएगा? When you prepare your balance sheet. So reporting date में जब you do that again restatement, that is the time you should be knowing what is my monetary and what is my non-monetary. तब तक initial recognition में everything is same. Transaction date, exchange rate. Clear? Now how we define monetary asset? Because again उसमें wrong हो गया तो आंसर गलत आ जाएगा. Correct? So cash equivalent, debt security, accounts receivable, these are all my monetary assets. Means क्या है कि I know exactly इतना पैसा मुझे आएगा. That is monetary. Liabilities, which are monetary, accounts payable, bonds payable, lease payable, right? Accrual, these are all monetary. Because exactly you know this much I am going to pay. Non-monetary, inventory, prepaid expenses. Because prepaid में क्या है? You are not going to get money back. You are going to get the services, right? इंश्योरेंस का आपने पैसा दे दिया तो सेफ गार्ड करेगा आपको, नेक्स्ट ईयर प्रोटेक्शन आएगा, बट वो पैसा वापस नहीं देगा ना. सो सर्विस मिलेगा. AMC you give. These are all prepaid expenses, non-monetary. Investment in equity securities, non-monetary. Investment property, PPE, intangible assets. These are all examples of non-monetary assets. Same when non-monetary liabilities, government grant, deferred income. We took that example of pharma industry. So I will defer those income, non-monetary. I am not going to give back those funds, right? I am going to provide the services. So these are my non-monetary liability. Okay. Now, having seen what is monetary and non-monetary, what is your considered view for these two type of transaction in foreign currency? Here I would like your views, please. Advance I give to supplier. I want to import suppose raw material and delivery time is suppose 3 months. Okay, वो बोलता है 100% advance दो या 50% advance दो, then only I will book the order and after 3 months you will get the delivery. Another example can be my exports. So maybe for that manufacturing that item may take maybe 6 months. So I will say milestone payments मुझे लगेगा. So delivery may happen after 6 months. But starting में 50% advance दो, बाद में after some milestone achieved 30% additional you pay, and then at the time of delivery when I do the export, you will make balance 30% or 20%, what is left. So this generally we come across such transactions, right? So tell me, all these kind of transactions are monetary or non-monetary? Frank opinion, or what we are doing with this, because we come across, these are all very very common transactions, right? छोटा बड़ा सब कंपनी में आता होगा, जो भी एक्सपोर्ट में है they will be facing this, जो भी import करता है they will be facing this, छोटा या बड़ा. How we deal with this? Anyone would try? Sir, your views, anything? Okay. और कोई? No views. Have, चलो हाथ ऊपर करके बोलो, ऐसा ट्रांजैक्शन हमने कितनी बार देखा है ड्यूरिंग आवर लास्ट वॉट एवर वी आर इन्वॉल्व इन टू दिस काइंड ऑफ प्रोफेशन? एक भी बार नहीं आया. हाउ वी हैव डेल्ट? ओके, डिफरेंस कहाँ आएगा? नाउ सी, सपोज our gentleman sir said that it is a monetary item. So how it will differ now? Let us take the example. Okay, then you will realize what is the importance and why I am saying this and from where it is coming. I have given separate example also, but let us dwell deep into it. Time है थोड़ा. So suppose 1 lakh का import का मैंने order दिया. Okay, I am standing on January, 1st January. He said 50% एडवांस. ठीक है, तो मैंने 1 लाख का टोटल था, $50,000 1st January को पेमेंट कर दिया. You can presume whatever exchange difference you want rate, because initial recognition I will to do at the transaction date exchange rate, right? उस वक्त suppose 50 रुपया था, right? Then he said, delivery time will be in April 15th. You will get the delivery. उसके पहले again March में one more installment you will pay, that is 25%. So 15 March को again I will pay $25,000. ठीक है, 31st March को I will have in my accounts advance against import $75,000, right? And at 2 different rates I must have converted. 50,000 को 1st January का रेट लगाया, then second installment I paid on 15th March. उस वक्त रेट में भी 2 रुपये का 3 रुपये का, आजकल तो रोज़ ऊपर नीचे होता है, सो फ़र्क हो सकता है. ठीक है, बट बिकॉज दिस आर ऑल ट्रांजेक्शन डेट एक्सचेंज रेट, एट दिस मोमेंट आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू बुक एनी एक्सचेंज डिफरेंस. ठीक है, बीच में आ गया मेरा रिपोर्टिंग period, that is 31st March. I have to close my books now. So we will look at 2 places. One, 31st March को मैं क्या करूँगा, and second, ultimately when 15th April को delivery आएगा, how I am going to deal with this advance account, and second thing, how I am going to recognize that import as a purchase in my books by using which rates, because as on 15th April when the delivery will happen, I only how much to be paid? $25,000. तो उसका वापस रेट will be different. So यहाँ पे अपने को 2 question we have to address. One is what I will do on 31st March with this advance lying in my books, and how I will recognize import purchase on 15th April by using which date ka rate. So these 2 are different things. One is I am talking about liability, means as balance sheet item. One I am looking at the import item. Both are different, right? वैसे dealing है, but वैसे देखा जाए it is one single thing. पहले तो आपने बोला कि मॉनिटरी है ही नहीं, या कोई व्यू ही नहीं था आपका. see, at least he said no, that monetary hai. Monetary hai, so then you will restate. Non-monetary we don't touch, right? So what is, how we do it? Let us first take this. So now you will understand. Translate to reporting currency, right? So now 31st March आ गया. Okay, now I am talking about अपना खुद का entity, Indian entity. जिसमें ये सब foreign currency transactions है मेरे books में. ठीक है? जैसे $75,000 if we take the example. What is the principle of translating monetary items, reporting date, exchange rate? So as you said, 31st March. Non-monetary item, transaction date, exchange rate. It means if it is a non-monetary, I will not restate. Inventory we never restate. Right? PPE we never restate. What we restate? Receivables, debtors, creditors, loans. We never restate inventory, we never restate PPE, right? Because we say it is non-monetary. So this is the principle. अभी समझो आप आपका definition change करोगे, then it will directly impact my what I report in my balance sheet as on 31st March. अगर if I go by somebody, suppose यहाँ पे आधे लोग ऐसे जो बोलते हैं कि non-monetary है, advance, then I will not restate only. So I will carry at whatever is lying in my books at the converted rate as on the date of the transaction. और वही मेरा रहेगा बैलेंस शीट में, कोई चेंज नहीं होगा. But if I go by, if suppose what he said that is a monetary or you said, then I will restate. तो एक्सचेंज हिट आएगा मेरा बुक्स में, P&L में हिट आएगा. Got it? This is why understanding is very crucial. And that's why I took up this example. बाकी तो स्टैंडर्ड में प्रिंसिपल बहुत क्लियर है, आगे बढ़ो खट 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 हो गया. What about this? So कंफ्यूजन अपना नहीं है. इंस्टीट्यूट ESE ओपिनियन इज देयर 2011 के पहले का, जिसमें बोला मॉनिटरी है. ओके, इंस्टीट्यूट सेम ESE 2011 के बाद ओपिनियन दिया, हाउ कैन इट बी मॉनिटरी, इट इज नॉट मॉनिटरी. सेम ESE. ठीक है. नाउ व्हाट इज द लॉजिक? दैट्स व्हाई सेड once we understand why, fundamental, then a confusion आएगा ही नहीं. चलो, tell me sir, why you say it is monetary? Are you going to receive advance back? What is the purpose of this entering into this contract? He is going to deliver you the materials, right? And suppose उसने last moment पे cancel किया, आप उसको माफ कर दोगे? Right? उसने डिले किया, आप उसको माफ कर दोगे? There will be liquidated damages, there will be many right, breach of trust. तो बहुत सारा consequences आएगा, right? So आपको वही पैसा वापस नहीं चाहिए, because that was not never your intention. So how can it be monetary? We have seen monetary means money to be paid or receivable in that same denomination of amount, a determined amount. Here that principle itself is not fulfilled. Now forget monetary, non-monetary. Think from exposure. Think from exposure. अगर मैंने उसको $50,000 या $75,000 दे दिया, do I carry any risk of fluctuation in my balance sheet, or I am secured? अभी जो भी ओपन है क्या है, 25,000, उसी का मेरा रिस्क ओपन बचा, राइट? बाकी तो मेरा फ्रीज हो गया, रुपये में कन्वर्ट हो गया, उसको मिल गया पैसा. नाउ आई डोंट कैरी एनी रिस्क ऑफ दैट 75. माई ओपन एक्सपोजर इज व्हाट? ओनली 25. सो इफ आई थिंक फ्रॉम दैट एंगल ऑल्सो, रिस्क ही नहीं है तो फिर एक्सचेंज डिफरेंस मेरे प्रॉफिट लॉस में हिट क्यों होगा भाई? It is no risk. As if it is transaction, now it is in INR. I have nothing to do. मैंने दे दिया है भाई 75 तेरे को, मेरा अभी एक्सपोजर खाली 25 का है. उसके सामने मुझे तो मटेरियल लाना है, मटेरियल का तो प्राइस पहले से फिक्स है मेरा। सो बोथ द एंगल से आप देखोगे सर, देन इट फुलफिल्स द नेचर ऑफ नॉन मॉनिटरी एसेट। सो नेवर टू रीस्टेट such kind of advances, whether received or paid। इसमें बहुत कम गाइडेंस, एंड दैट्स वाई ESE भी बेचारा 2 बार ऊपर नीचे हुआ। बट अंडर इंड एस वहाँ पे भी दिस क्लैरिटी वॉज देयर कि एडवांसेस आर ऑलवेज नॉन मॉनिटरी, सो नॉट टू रीस्टेट। IFRS में इट वॉज देयर, बट नाउ आई एम कमिंग टू 15 अप्रैल, वहाँ पे IFRS में भी कंफ्यूजन था, एंड दैट्स वाई दे हैड टू कम अप विथ IFRIC नोटिफिकेशन। IFRS में जैसे we have ESE, they have some separate committee that is IFRIC, they look into all these issues which crop up in the industry, or from professors they get those things, they research on that, they debate on that, and they come up with the guidance, that is IFRIC। ठीक है, अपना ESE है। So there also this was clear what is monetary non-monetary advances, they were not clear 15th को क्या करना है। So now I am again asking you, so not to worry, IFRS में भी problem है, तो हम we can be wrong, or it is just we are expressing our what we feel or how we are dealing, ठीक है। So that's why this is our closed door discussions, correct, एग्जाम थोड़ी है। सो 15th को सपोज $1,00,000 का माल आया मेरे पास, आई रिसीव द डिलीवरी, आई विल हैव टू बुक द इम्पोर्ट। उस स्टार्टिंग में सपोज फॉर आवर एग्जांपल रेट वाज 50 ऑन 1 जनवरी, 15 मार्च को इट वाज सपोज 56, राइट, एंड 15th अप्रैल को व्हेन एक्चुअली आई एम बुकिंग द परचेज, रेट हैज गॉन शूट अप टू 60। 3 rates, 50,000, 25,000 and now balance 25,000। तो मुझे, एंड सपोज है 25,000 जो बैलेंस पेमेंट है आई एम डूइंग ऑन 30th अप्रैल, नॉट ऑन 15th अप्रैल। तो ऑन 15th अप्रैल को मुझे इंपोर्ट $1,00,000 कितने अमाउंट में रिकॉर्ड करना है, एनी गाइडेंस, एनी वन। और 15th अप्रैल का रेट है समझो 60 आई साइड, राइट, एंड 30th अप्रैल में एक्चुअल बैलेंस 25,000 आई विल पे, उस वक्त समझो 65 है। बिल ऑफ लेडिंग फिर, और गुड, वी आर शेयरिंग और वॉट एवर वी आर एक्चुअली डूइंग। इंपोर्ट को परचेज को क्या रेट पे करोगे भाई साहब? यस सर। Fantastic. I think that is the what internationally it is being done. That is what IFRIC came up with the answer. That's why they came up with Annexer B. And now under our standard, right, we have a separate appendix, that is B, which deals with this particular situation. How you will account advances, how you will account purchase of import or export, whatever, how it should be done. And precisely they are saying, because जहाँ पे आपका exposure नहीं था, already is done and dusted, तो उसको वापस चेंज करने की क्या ज़रूरत है? तो 50,000 multiply by 50, you get some answer, plus 25,000 multiply by 56, what I said, right, you will get some answer। वो ऑलरेडी आपका बैलेंस शीट में है 31 मार्च को INR में कन्वर्ट किया हुआ, उसको ही आप खींचो आगे, राइट। बैलेंस अभी 1,00,000 का बिल है, बचा क्या है 25,000, ओनली 25,000 पे आपका रिस्क है एक्सचेंज फ्लक्चुएशन का, तो वही रिस्क आपका P&L में जाना चाहिए। तो आप क्या करोगे, 25,000 मल्टीप्लाई बाई 60, ठीक है, तो तीनों का टोटल मारा आपने, that will become your import। So import debit, 1,00,000 का बिल converted into this way what I said, एडवांस तो ऑलरेडी पड़ा था उसमें, उसको आप क्रेडिट करो 1,00,000 का जो अभी आंसर आया, करेक्ट। तो पार्टी को आपने क्रेडिटर्स को क्रेडिट कर दिया. सो ओके, तो नेट आप देखोगे तो उसमें खाली जो बैलेंस 25,000 का है वही अभी खड़ा रहेगा, क्योंकि एडवांस आपने उसके सामने ही खड़ा था. तो अभी इट विल शो लायबिलिटी ऑफ $25,000 कन्वर्टेड एट 60, जो अभी 15 अप्रैल का रेट 60 रुपीज़ वही बचा. ऑन दैट डेट 15 अप्रैल का रेट ओनली ऑन द बैलेंस. करेक्ट? नहीं, बिल ऑफ लेडिंग जरूरत नहीं है. Institute had said it should be bill of lading, correct? But you can it should be consistently followed. और ICDS के लिए and under income tax they are saying closing should be as per SBI rate. So that adjustments at all if you have to do, income tax का जो एक्ट है वहाँ पे they are saying कि for the conversion purpose जो लॉस आपको अलाउ करेगा कि नहीं, तो उसमें they are saying कि whatever rate you have followed, जो क्लोजिंग रेट आप रिस्टेट करोगे दैट शुड बी एट द SBI रेट. हाँ, सो ओनली दैट विल बी फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ कंप्यूटेशन. दे विल नॉट टच योर बुक्स. AS 11 डज नॉट गिव एनी गाइडेंस कि कौन सा रेट लोगे, बट जनरली इधर फॉर इम्पोर्ट एज यू सेड बिल ऑफ लेडिंग रेट और बैंक रेट. एक्सपोर्ट जनरली वी टेक बैंक रेट, करेक्ट? But point here is how you will account this. So this is how you will account. So now what will happen, as on 30th April when I actually make the balance payment of $25,000, 60 पे वो खड़ा था, 65 मेरा रेट हो गया है, तो that 5 rupees का जो गैप है into 25,000 that will only hit my P&L as exchange difference. Now इसको चेंज करो. And just for the moment, if you go back, if it is a monetary item, then you calculate, everything will be very different. Right, sir? Yeah, you are saying something.
Purchasement is easy because I am importing goods. But when it comes to sales, I face difficulties when it comes to reporting in GST returns. Because if I have to claim refund,
That's the problem, no, sir. Accounting कुछ अलग बोलता है, स्टेचुटरी लॉस कुछ अलग बोलता है. जैसे कस्टम वाला कुछ अलग बोलेगा, GST वाला कुछ अलग बोलेगा, ICDS कुछ अलग बोलता है. दैट इज द प्रॉब्लम नो इंडिया में. ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस सर. सो दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम. आई एग्री. इसलिए फिर रिकन्सिलेशन 9C में वी हैव अ लॉट ऑफ रिकन्सिलेशंस कि बुक में ऐसा है, रिटर्न में ऐसा है, तो दोनों का रिकन्सिलेशन. इतना बड़ा लंबा लिस्ट, राइट? So we feel we are occupied, but is it fruitful? Adding any value? No, it's nonsense. Correct? जब तक it is aligned properly, this is going to happen, sir. Reconcile बनाते रहो, 2-3 बुक बनाते रहो, हैं? वही अपना काम है. फिर हम बोले कि बहुत बिजी है, बहुत बिजी है. खाया पिया कुछ नहीं, गिलास थोड़ा भरा ना. This is what is happening, right? So we have to take up at any forums wherever it is possible and bring out these issues, these problems which you are facing, and the resources which are getting wasted. These are not the areas where our brains should be, right? तो कहाँ से फिर बिग 4 बनेगा इंडिया का? बनेगा? कंप्लायंस में ही बिजी है. Got it? So take, yes, I try my best wherever I get the opportunity to bring the issues. But जब तक नहीं आएगा, this is what the fact is, this is what the interpretation worldwide it is. But as I said, I wanted that this issue should be brought, that's why I have brought it. बाकी I think principally everything is clear. अभी I will take only 5 minutes, sir. ट्रांसलेशन जब फॉरेन ऑपरेशन का मैं करता हूँ, ठीक है, तो if it is integral, I will follow the procedure of this one. इंटीग्रल है तो मुझे मॉनिटरी नॉन मॉनिटरी करना पड़ेगा, and accordingly I will apply the translation rates. For that, balance it when I incorporate, convert into my reporting currency. When it is non-integral, so मैंने example भी दिया था, that I think you can at your leisure you can go through this example. Simple था कि ये जनरल होता तो क्या होता था, right? बिकॉज मशीनरी यहाँ पे नॉन मॉनिटरी है मेरा, लायबिलिटी इज मॉनिटरी, तो 31 मार्च को चेंजेस बिकॉज लायबिलिटी आई विल रिस्ट्रिक्ट, सो मेरा इम्पैक्ट आया P&L पे, ठीक है। नॉन इंटीग्रल होता तो व्हाट इज़ द डिफरेंस, मुझे मॉनिटरी नॉन मॉनिटरी देखना ही नहीं है, ऑल माई बैलेंस शीट आइटम्स एट क्लोजिंग रेट, राइट। So this is when I translate my non-integral for an operation for the purpose of consolidation. ठीक है, income and expense generally average rate and equity at historical rate. Equity I never touch, but उसके सिवाय बाकी जितना भी asset liability दिख रहा है आपको, equity in broader sense includes reserves, includes SOCI, राइट, मीन्स P&L आ गया जो बैलेंस शीट में जाएगा मेरा रिजर्व्स के अंदर, तो रिजर्व सब आ गया एंड शेयर कैपिटल, दिस वी कॉल इट एज अ इक्विटी, तो उसको हमको टच नहीं करना है। प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट आइटम जितनी भी है उसको हम एवरेज रेट लगाएंगे, एंड बाकी जितने भी एसेट लायबिलिटी मेरे बैलेंस शीट में दिखते हैं फॉरेन ऑपरेशन की, उसको मैं क्लोजिंग रेट पे कन्वर्ट करूँगा एंड देन फिट टू कंसोलिडेट बैलेंस शीट बनाऊँगा और उसको फिर कंसोल करूँगा, ठीक है, सिंपल। नाउ ये जो नॉन इंटीग्रल में एक्सचेंज डिफरेंस आएगा, क्योंकि हमने देखा था कि इंटीग्रल रहेगा तो आई विल फॉलो दिस मेथड, राइट। सो वट एवर एक्सचेंज डिफरेंस कम्स इट विल गो टू माई P&L अकाउंट, राइट। इंटीग्रल होगा तो, नॉन इंटीग्रल में होगा बिकॉज इट इज नॉन इंटीग्रल, तो मेरा P&L में क्यों हिट लूंगा भाई मैं, सो आई विल टेक इट टू FCTR. FCTR is part of my reserves, it will lie there, and only when I dispose of that my investment in that subsidiary or whatever, at that time वो मेरा FCTR से P&L में जाएगा, तब तक वो FCTR में ही जमा होते रहेगा। Every year whatever changes comes on translation, because translation में there will be an exchange difference, right, वो मेरा FCTR में जाएगा, P&L में नहीं जाएगा। यस यस, नहीं अपना P&L में रिजर्व्स है, बिकॉज इसमें नहीं है ना अपना, और अंडर इंड एज वे OCI, यहाँ पे वी डोंट हैव OCI, ठीक है। सो इफ वॉट एवर FCTR यू गेट, इज इट अ बैलेंसिंग फिगर, और यू कैन वेरीफाई कि नहीं ये करेक्ट आया मेरा आंसर, इट इज़ नॉट अ फ्लुक, देन दिस इज द फॉर्मूला, अप्लाई दिस यू विल गेट द सेम आंसर, देन यू कैन फील कि हाँ जिसने भी किया है बच्चे ने करेक्ट किया है, देयर इज नो मिस्टेक, यू कैन रिलाई ऑन योर आर्टिकल, राइट। एंड दिस इज दैट एग्जाम्पल आई हैव टेकन, हाउ यू विल डू इट। सो ऑल सॉल्यूशंस आर ऑल्सो देयर, जैसे यहाँ पे FCTI मेरा 15,000 आया, राइट, सो वो नीचे मैंने फाइंड किया कि हाउ दैट 15,000 यू कैन रिकनसाइल। यस सर। नो सी व्हाट सिंपल प्रिंसिपल है, इक्विटी प्योर जो आपका शेयर कैपिटल है ना, उसको आप कीप इट एट द ओरिजिनल रेट, बाकी यू हैव टू प्रिज्यूम दैट लास्ट ईयर का जो क्लोजिंग था ना वो रेट पे अभी पड़ा है रिजर्व्स, और ए करेंट क्लोजिंग अप मीन्स अभी जो डिफरेंस आएगा FCTR में, दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ दैट डिफरेंस बिटवीन ओपनिंग एंड क्लोजिंग इनडायरेक्टली, राइट, एंड ड्यूरिंग देयर का जो प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस एड हो रहा है आपका, दैट इज द एवरेज रेट, ठीक है, दिस इज हाउ। Yes.
Imports and exports, I might use customs rate, and for realizations, I might use bank rate. So, is that okay, or I have to use bank rate for all the transactions?
जरूरी नहीं है, एज आई सेड स्टैंडर्ड क्या बोलता है, अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी भी क्या था अपना, कंसिस्टेंट एंड रिलायबल सोर्स होना चाहिए आपका, राइट, एंड यू आर फॉलोइंग कंसिस्टेंटली। नो आप बाय कर रहे हो कि सेल कर रहे हो, दैट्स हाउ यू हैव टू लुक एट इट, आप बैंक से बाय करने वाले हो या सेल करने वाले हो, दैट्स व्हाट। सो इंपोर्ट के लिए दैट वे अकॉर्डिंगली यू हैव टू थिंक।
इंपोर्ट करेंगे तो बाय करेंगे ना, नहीं इंपोर्ट करेंगे तो सेल करेंगे, सेलिंग रेट, ऑलवेज कंफ्यूजन सर.
नहीं, बैंक विल सेल टू यू, राइट? सिंपल आपको बताऊं,
हाँ,
दोनों में फर्क रहेगा रेट्स में. तो यू टू थिंक फ्रॉम बैंक एंगल. बैंक को किस में ज़्यादा फायदा है? तो आपसे वो बाई करेगा, सस्ते में करेगा, आपको जब सेल करेगा तो महंगे में करेगा. तो वो दोनों में डिफरेंस, आप उसको सेल कर रहे हो डॉलर या उसके बाई कर रहे हो. सपोज इंपोर्ट आपको करना है तो यू विल गो टू बैंक एंड आस्क फॉर द डॉलर्स, राइट? कि मैं रुपये आपको दूंगा, तू मुझे डॉलर.
बाइंग रेट,
हाँ, राइट, सेलिंग रेट,
Selling.
बिकॉज बैंक आपको सेल
वी
करेगा,
आर बैंक इज सेलिंग.
करेक्ट,
ओके.
राइट. और एक्सपोर्ट के लिए आपके पास डॉलर आना है, तो आप बैंक के पास जा रहे हो कि मेरे से डॉलर ले ले भाई, तो बोलेगा रेट अलग रहेगा मेरा. थिंक फ्रॉम दैट एंगल, राइट? डन? ठीक है. टाइम ऑफ बॉस. बाकी ये जो है ना, लास्ट पार्ट वॉज दिस, बट एक्चुअली आई थॉट के इंस्टेड ऑफ गोइंग एवरीवेयर, लेट अस क्लेरिफाई दैट एडवांस वाला पॉइंट. तो दैट वी हैव डन. फॉरवर्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एवरीबडी क्लियर कि उसमें डाउट है कोई? अकाउंटिंग ऑफ फॉरवर्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. Again, principle, example I have given, detailed example is there, you can go through. Principle is this, that why you are doing hedging. You are not doing speculation. तो आपको क्या है कि प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस में इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, आपको है कि मैंने जो रेट फिक्स किया है उसी में मुझे वो आना चाहिए. बाकी जो भी फ्लक्चुएशन हो रहा है, आई एम ट्राइंग टू नलीफाई बाय हेजिंग, राइट? तो आपको ये देखना है कि सो यू विल ट्रीट योर अंडरलाइंग जो डेटर्स या क्रेडिटर्स होगा जिसके लिए आपने ये हेज किया है, तो उसको आप रीस्टेट जब भी करेगा, बिकॉज डेटर्स एंड क्रेडिटर्स आर माई मॉनेटरी आइटम, सो विल रीस्टेट, राइट? तो एग्जैक्टली ऑपोजिट इसका इफेक्ट आएगा. तो माई P&L में दोनों में नलीफाई हो जाना चाहिए, राइट? ओनली माई गेन और लॉस शुड बी वॉट, दैट प्रीमियम डिफरेंस बिटवीन माई स्पॉट रेट एंड द एग्रीड रेट, फॉरवर्ड रेट, वही मेरा प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस में हिट होना चाहिए ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, नथिंग एल्स. इफ यू रिमेंबर दिस प्रिंसिपल देन इट इज़ वेरी सिंपल. अगर इसको नहीं समझे बहुत डिफिकल्ट है. गॉट इट? सो एग्जाम्पल आई हैव गिवन, प्रिंसिपल इसको ध्यान में रखना. मेरा पर्पस था मुझे हेज करना है, मुझे प्रॉफिट एंड स्पेक्यूलेशन नहीं करना है, तो उसमें मुझे गेन या लॉस नहीं होना चाहिए. ठीक है, मुझे पहले से मालूम है मेरा 46 में आने वाला ही है, तो मेरा इम्पैक्ट 46 का मीन्स आज का स्पॉट रेट और 46 का, वो दोनों का इम्पैक्ट ही मेरा P&L में जाना चाहिए, प्लस या माइनस, नथिंग एल्स. बाकी सब मेरा नलीफाई हो जाना चाहिए. यस यस यस, ये देखो पूरा डिटेल में है जेवी के साथ, राइट सर? और स्पेक्यूलेशन जो अलाउड नहीं है वो करोगे तो हाउ यू डू, दैट ऑल्सो आई हैव गिवन. ओके, थैंक यू, थैंक यू.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful session. Your insightful presentation has truly enriched us, our understanding on this AS 1, 7, 9 and 11. We all appreciate your time and efforts given for this presentation, and I request all of you to kindly give a huge round of applause to Rajesh Modi sir. Thank you. Now there is a lunch break of 30 minutes. The lunch is arranged at the first floor. The next session will start at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. Thank you.